In this video, we're going to have a look at what a lakehouse is in Microsoft Fabric and how it can integrate into Power BI. Hello, I'm Philip Burton of idodata.com. So, you may be used to Power BI, but there are a number of other experiences that you can use. And one of those is Synapse Data Engineering, where you can create a lakehouse to store and manipulate your data. So you can get to it using this bottom left-hand button and going to Data Engineering, or going to Microsoft Fabric and clicking Synapse Data Engineering, or you don't need to do any of that at all. Let's go back to Power BI and create a new workspace. So I'll go into Workspaces and I'll create a new workspace. So this is my Fabric YouTube workspace, and I'll go to Advanced. And if you've got a Fabric capacity, you can select it. If you have the accessibility to create a trial, you can select that as well. So I will do that and click Apply. So I'm still in the Power BI experience, and if I go to my workspace and go to New, I have things relating to Power BI. But I can also click on More Options, and that gives me access to everything. So I don't need to know that a lakehouse is part of data engineering. I just need to look for the word lakehouse and click on it. So I'm going to call this my Fabric YouTube Lakehouse and click Create. So this will just take a few seconds. So what can you do with a lakehouse? Well, you can upload not only tables, like in a database, but also files. So it copes with structured, semi-structured, and unstructured data. So when you get your files into your lakehouse, you can then manipulate it using PySpark or other languages, and then save it as a table. You can also query it in an SQL Analytics Endpoint. If I was to click up here where it says Lakehouse, I can change my view to an Analytics Endpoint. So let's see how this works. First of all, uploading files. So I can click on Upload Files here, or I can create a new Dataflow Gen2, or a data pipeline, or I can go to Get Data and do these as well. For this example, I'm going to upload a file, but I'm not going to use any of these options. Instead, I'll click on the ... next to Files and go to Upload Files. I've also got the option of Upload Folder. So if I do that and click on the folder icon, I can select my file. So I'm going to select this file m2m actual.csv. So let's click Open and click Upload. A very small file, it's already uploaded. But where is it? Well, you can see it if you click on Files. So there it is. So you can upload all of your files. It could be in a structured format, semi-structured format, unstructured format, and then later you can manipulate it. Now, I generally would manipulate files using a notebook, but we're not going to be looking at notebooks in this particular video. We're just looking at Lakehouse. So let's say I wanted to convert this into a table, because at the moment, if I go into my SQL Analytics Endpoint, then I have no tables. I cannot create queries using files. So let's go back to the Lakehouse mode, and I will click on the ... next to the CSV, and I'm going to Load to Tables, New Table. So this is going to be my m2m actual, and I'll call it table just so it's clear which is the file and which is the table. So because this is a CSV file and the computer knows this, it's going to use the comma as a separator. So let's click Load. This may take a few seconds, but afterwards we will see the m2m actual table in the Tables section. So now you can see after about 20 seconds, it has now been loaded. So if I click on this table, we'll get a preview of the data that is there. So let's go back into our SQL Analytics Endpoint. So now we have got this table. So I'm going to create a new SQL query. So let's say select star from, and let's drag this table slightly into this window. I didn't have to put it directly into position, just into the area was fine. So if I run that, then we see the data. Now I can open this in Excel and I can explore this data. But first of all, before doing that, I need to highlight at least one select statement. So I will do that and click on Explore this data. For me, this is in the wrong area. It should be up here because we are relating it to a query. And in a few seconds, we've got access to the Explorer. So I can say I want the location and the actual as a bar chart. So maybe I'll say, no, I want the country as a bar chart, and maybe drill down into the actual. So I will change the location into the y-axis and expand one level down, for example. I can then save this as a report. I can also look at the data in the matrix as well. I can also create a visual query. So I can drag in whatever tables I'm interested in, and then I can manipulate it in this cut down version of Power Query. However, if I wanted a fuller version of Power Query, I would press this button to get it into its own bigger window, and this looks a lot more familiar if you have used Power Query in Power BI. So you can then manipulate it as much as you want. And then you can save it as a view and then query the view, and again you'll be able to use the Explore function to be able to create your own visualizations. Now, what if you wanted to create a visualization not based on an SQL statement but on the table? Well, let's go back to our lakehouse view. So here's our lakehouse, and I can create a new semantic model in Power BI. So let's click on that, and I'll say I want this table, so you can select as many tables as you want. So this is my Fabric YouTube semantic model. That's the new name for dataset. Click on Confirm. This might take a few seconds. And here we can see our semantic model. So we can create new measures and other things. And we can create a new report. So let's click on New Report. And I will create a pie chart based on this data. So let's add the country and the actual. So this is a data lakehouse. So it allows you to import data and query it using SQL or manipulate it using Spark. You can also, instead of just importing data, you can also add in shortcuts. So these are pointers to external sources like Amazon S3, Azure Data Lake Storage Gen2, Dataverse, and more. And you can also get data using a Dataflow Gen2, which gives you access to hundreds of connectors using a Power Query interface. So here you can see all of the connectors that you can use. Some of the disadvantages with a lakehouse? Well, in SQL, you can only query the data. You can't manipulate it using update and insert and delete statements. You can in a warehouse, you can't in a lakehouse. So the primary interface for manipulating data is using a Spark or PySpark notebook. If you would like to learn more about how to use a lakehouse, then I hope you'll consider joining me in my DP600 course. In this course, we expand the knowledge that you've got in the PL300 Power BI course. We'll have a look at advanced Power BI desktop and Power BI service. We'll look at data flows and data pipelines and manipulate data in lakehouses using notebooks. We'll also have a look at data warehouses. This and our other course on Power BI are available at our website, idodata.com. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then why not click like, and why not subscribe and click that bell? That way you'll be notified of any new videos, including videos about other parts of Microsoft Fabric. I'm Philip Burton of idodata.com. Thanks for watching, and keep learning.